Welcome to the Ignite Digi control deck for DJI Transmission. This is our latest and most complex product that we've ever worked on, and we're really excited to share the details with you today. So obviously you know DJI Transmission, long range, video, gimbal control and phys control all over one link. So kind of the holy grail of transmission links at the moment. So utilising that as the platform to connect to the Inspire 3, the Ronin 4D, the RS3 and RS4 Pro, and of course the old trusty Ronin 2. So the control deck, what was the inspiration behind the product? Well, obviously there are some industry standards out there, shot over GSS, the FreeFly Movi controller has been a stalwart of gimbal operators for many years. So I guess, yeah, we took inspiration from those and the best bits of one and best bits of another and tried to come up with a system that was both compact but also comfortable to operate all day. And thinking about you traveling around the world with this and providing you with a consistent controller that works on all of the DJI ecosystem that you use every day. Control Deck is our second collaboration with Signal Audio based out in Melbourne, Australia. Tad is a really good friend of ours and it was great to work with him on bringing this product to life. Now I just want to show you the workflow from case to stand. So first up, turning the DJI Hybrid on, got the WB37, put the TB50 on the bottom, switch it on. So you've got the spigot ready here with the right angle spigot and the zipper clamp coming around, tying it off, then undoing this lever here, tilting the hybrid up. Then the second one is to go across. So you can see it's super quick to get set up. Obviously plug the SDI in and then you've got your production setup. So this is our Pro Workflow monitor mount, and we designed this because we got sick of articulating arms and that sort of thing, just never being level, always drooping while you're in the shot, while you're in the car, clinging around. And also it was obviously super important for us that it went back in the case and came out of the case as easily and as quickly as possible and as set up as possible. So we've gone for a NATO rail that's a tilting NATO rail. So you got that. So you can slide the monitor across, which then means when you tilt it down, you can pack it away. So I'll show you that. Across and then tilting down, and you can see the monitor stops before it hits anything. So we've got that limit, and then lock it off, switch it off, take the battery off, and you're ready to put it in the case. Don't have to take the antennas off or anything. Next, I'll just talk you through the functions of the control deck from left to right. So obviously first up we have the zoom rocker down the side here, and I'm controlling the 4D with that. So I've got the PZ Sony 16-35, so you can see I've got the zoom going on that. Next up is master rate. So master rate allows you to go from 100% of your maximum pan and tilt speed all the way down to 0%. So it's something that you'll be adjusting on the fly in the shot. That allows you to keep the ratio of the pan and tilt the same, but adjust the overall maximum speed. Next, we've got the iris. So obviously with the 4D and the Inspire 3, with the electronic lenses, we can control the iris. So that's a nice function to have. Again, within reach of your left hand when you've got the control deck in front of you. The focus, so you can see here I've got the LiDAR map and the focus meter down the side here, and that is obviously being adjusted there. Next, we've got the run stop button here, and there's a red LED in there that will confirm recording when you're using it with the Inspire 3 and the Ronin 4D. All right, next up, we've got pan speed here. So you can see I'm adjusting, got the big numbers popping up and then they disappear, and then pushing that in will do pan recenter. So you can see here, I'll do pan recenter. There we go. So next across is tilt, the tilt version of that. So tilt speed and then tilt recenter. Over here, we've got roll trim. So that's a detented, so it's at 0 now. So you can see I'm adjusting roll. And that's something that even if you do roll and then adjust recenter, it will then redo the trim. So even if you are adjusting roll on the fly and have a roll trim in, the roll trim will always be put back in after the recenter, if that makes sense. Next, got the joystick. So we've used a high quality 3-axis APEM joystick with a button on top. So you've got roll or zoom on the twist. You've got roll recenter up the top. A long hold of the button will change the tilt polarity, so the tilt direction. So we've labeled everything as much as possible to make it easy for a first time operator or even when you haven't used it in a little while. So we've got the short press and the long press. So tilt inverted and then tilt normal. Some would argue that inverted is normal, but that's all right. Obviously on the screen, we've got feedback of the joystick. So you can see how much input I'm doing on the pan, tilt, and then roll. The other nice thing is that as you adjust the master rate, you can see here that number. So that's a percentage. Then when you adjust, you can now see the gray area. That's the master rate effect on the joystick output. So got 100% joystick input, but the output to that axis is 50% of that. Now onto the buttons. We've got mark and clear mark. So if you come up to the screen, you can see on the LiDAR overlay here with the focus meter, I can put a mark here. So this works for the 4D and the Inspire 3. I can put those marks there, and then a long hold toggles this to clear mark. So then you confirm up here on the screen. Next, we have EXP or exposure and peaking. So this will toggle whatever you've set the high bright to be, whether it's waveform, zebra, or false color, and you can toggle it from down here. And then long hold toggles peaking. So obviously I haven't got it in focus, so you can't see the peaking working. So I've got obviously red peaking there, it's pretty intense. And the other function that's cool is DJI don't automatically put the peaking back on after the waveform comes up. So if you just long press to get the waveform to go and the peaking to come up. All right, next, autofocus, manual focus toggle. So you can adjust on the fly, autofocus, manual focus. The long hold is set up, so that will get you into the menu for the control deck. So in the menu, we've got settings that you don't necessarily need to ride all of the time. So we've got what is twist axis, whether it's on or off, zoom, roll, swap. So that would swap the twist and the rocker. So the rocker would become roll and the twist would become zoom. So, and then next, got fizz control, on or off. So if you're using the Focus Pro or the 3-channel hand unit with the 4D or the Inspire 3, and you want the focus puller to have that control, you can disable fizz on here because otherwise they'll conflict. You'll have 2 focus units trying to control one lens. Next is joystick mode. So we've got linear, squared, and cubic. So that's the curve. So linear, obviously direct input straight across. Squared has some curve to it, and then cubic is the most curved. So as you finesse in, it's gonna be slow and then be able to hit a maximum speed. So they all end up at the same maximum, just do it in a different way. All right, we'll keep going down. Focus range, so we've set it so that you can have this range be the full range of the lens or just the back, the far half. So if you're on the drone and you actually want even more detail in terms of focus pulling, you can map the whole range of the wheel to about half of the focus range of the lens. So that's useful for, particularly for drone use. Roll speed, we've got slow, medium, fast. We did that because we didn't have room for a spare knob, and we figured, well, once often you're just doing roll to finesse the gimbal. You're not necessarily doing it to do a fast move, but you can do fast if you need. So all of these axis speeds are controlling the actual gimbal speed, not just the joystick input. They're actually talking to the Ronins and the Inspire to actually change that setting. All right, next, which I know a lot of you are excited about, is shake. So obviously down here we've got the shake knob, and that is a push button. So that enables and disables, and then you've got a 0 to 30 range. So that's, I guess, the intensity we're calling it at the moment. So shake, you can see the 4D shaking now. Shake is affected by the pan and tilt speed and also the smoothing. And so you want to make sure that you turn the smoothing down. So you can see I can adjust the smoothing on the fly and that will dampen it a bit. So that's smoothing down here, which I haven't talked about yet. We've got deadbanded smoothing. So the deadband is how long before the joystick will do something. So how much you have to translate the joystick before an input is taken. So you can see that's quite a large deadband. And then smoothing is how smooth the in and out of the move. So you can see it's very soft there. So continue on with the menu. We've got shake, pan, on or off, shake, tilt, on or off, shake, roll, on or off. So that's where you can enable or disable different axes for the shake function, and then exit menu. Obviously, we'll continue to iterate these things. So, this is just version firmware for launch. So please give us your feedback on what you like and don't like, and we'll be able to iterate. So then exit menu, press across, now we're back. So if director calls roll and you're in the menu, you can still do everything. You can still joystick, you can still focus, you can still iris, master rate. You just can't do the 4 buttons across the bottom. The last button here is all axis recenter and gimbal mode. So the gimbal mode function doesn't work on obviously the Inspire 3 because it's just one mode, but it does work with the 4D and the RS3 and 4. Yeah, all axis recenter. So you got the option to all axis recenter, pan recenter, tilt recenter, roll recenter. Down the front, you'll see this carbon plate, and that's hiding a USB-C and a button. So that's where firmware is updated. We decided to cover it because we figured you're not going to be doing it every day, and so just to protect it for weather. All right, next I'm going to spin around. Obviously the zoom rocker, then we're coming around here, and I'll start on this side. So we've got 2 15-volt regulated 2-pin outputs, and that's 15-volt regulated when you're using a TB50, which I am under here. And then if you're using a gold mount or a V mount, it will just output battery voltage, so 11 to 17 volts. Next is the transmission port. So this is sending power, so 11 to 17 if you're using the gold mount or the V mount, or regulated 15 if you're using TB50 or 51. And CAN bus up into the expansion port of the DJI High-Bright monitor. So this is powering the monitor and also sending the signals and receiving the signals. So you will need to make sure that you have this expansion plate for your High-Bright. You won't be able to use control deck without it. Next, you'll see here, this is what we've called the cheese block, and I've got the spigot foot mounted here. So this is so that when it's sitting on a table with the battery plate on, it doesn't tip over. So it's just giving me an extra little bit of stability for this setup on the table. Next across here, we've got a 6-pin, and that's a DC in, which is 11 to 17 volts. You can see the label here. And that is the same as the DJI High-Bright 6-pin, the Ronin 4D 6-pin, and the Red DSMC 6-pin. So this is where you'd use our straight connector AC adapter, the 90-watt AC adapter that we include with the complete kits. So that's a straight connector so that if you're using it on a table without the battery plate, you wouldn't run the right angle into the table. Hidden down in this recess is a USB-C PD output up to 30 watts. So you can charge iPads, iPhones, that sort of thing, even the RC Plus for the Inspire 3. But another reason that we recessed it is we've got this USB-C gooseneck, and that is just going to slide in and provide a nice rigid space. And then up the top here, we've got the Rovinon A3 flashlight, which is high CRI daylight balanced. So double tap, and then you've got 4 different brightness modes, which obviously in the daylight you can't see too well, but the idea of that is to give you your control deck some light at night or on a dark set. So the gooseneck and flashlight are included in the core kit and the complete kit. Up the back here, you can see our cheese block. We're calling the cheese mounting block. And yeah, the idea of that was to really provide a secure mounting for the control deck. So we've gone with a spigot, but it also has the hex shape. So you can see, you can drop it onto those no twist hex spigots as well. Underneath the cheese block, we've also got some 3/8 and 2/4 inches, so you could mount this to a tripod. Depends on whether with your battery mount and how big your head is as to how much that would work. But obviously the spigot's the main draw card of the cheese block mount. So up here on top of the cheese block, we've got 2/4 inches and 2 3/8 pin locks. So for those getting the core kit, you'll get this cheese mounting block, but not this Pro monitor arm setup. So you'll be using those 1/4 inches and 3/8 for mounting your monitor in an alternative way, either with an articulating arm. Underneath, we've got the battery mounts here, and they're user changeable. So you undo the 4 screws here, separate a plug your new plate in, and 4 bolts to put it on. So we've got V-lock, gold mount, TB50 and TB51 options. You may be still hearing the fan from the DJI High-Bright monitor, and that's because I'm running a WB37 up here on the monitor. So this enables the transmission to stay powered, even though I've taken the TB50 or V-lock or whatever off the bottom. And this enables essentially hot swap. So I don't have to run a block battery into the 6-pin input up the back here. I can just change that battery, keep the monitor running, and then as soon as that battery is passing power back through here, the monitor will switch over to that and just save the WB37 for the next hot swap. So a single WB37 will last all day. So we've got the 6 feet down here, and if you take the battery plate off, it will sit on these 6 feet. So you've got a nice solid mounting platform when you're sitting on a desk. So if you're doing a live event or live broadcast and you're at a desk, then that might be a good option. Run your AC power into here and sit the control deck straight on the desk. So on the RC Plus and the 4D hand grips on the side of the transmission monitor, DJI actually throttle the maximum pan, tilt and roll speeds that you can do. So control deck doesn't have that limitation. On the Ronin 4D with the grips on the side of the monitor, you have a maximum pan, tilt and roll speed of 120 degrees per second, which is about that. With the control deck, we unlock the full rate, which is 360 degrees per second. So 3 times faster. On the Inspire 3 with the RC Plus, your pan rate is limited to about 270 degrees per second. So that's about that speed. With the control deck, we unlock the full speed, which is 430 degrees per second maximum. So I'll show you that again. For tilt, the maximum is about 120 degrees per second with the RC Plus. So that's about 120 degrees a second. And now I'll show you the full rate that's possible. So that's with control deck. So when it's sitting in your lap in a car mode, you've got a nice hand space to sit for the joystick over here. You've obviously got a nice spot for your hand here. So I've got quite big hands. I've got the zoom rocker down the side, I've got focus, I've got iris, I've got master rate. So I can just, I've got access to everything I need. Run stop. Then I can take the hand off, adjust the pan speed, or I can just ride that master rate. And then when you take your hand off, press all recenter. And then if I just want pan recenter, I can do that, and just tilt recenter as well. So here in the menu of the High-Bright, you can go general settings, 3-axis focus, and you can invert the zoom, you can invert the focus, and you can invert the iris. So if you prefer them to be the other way around, that's the way to do it, is in the DJI monitor. All right, that's a wrap. Let's pack it up and put it back into the case and have a tour of the case. So I'm holding down the side on the monitor, turning the monitor off, switching the control deck off. Now I'm going to undo this at the back here, slide it across the NATO, and then do that back up. And then on the lever here, you can see the U shape. So that stops the monitor being able to go past 90. So now I'll do that back up and then turn it over, take the battery off, and let's go and put it in the case. So opening the case, obviously the antennas have got some angle, putting it in like this, and then dropping it down. And you can see here the LEMO sticks up a little bit, but no problem for the lid. Now, open back up, I'll put the battery away, and then I'll talk you through what we've got here. So this layout is trying to be as functional as possible. So make it as quickly for you to get it to the stand or to your lap and powered up. So I've got a spot here for the batteries, 2 TB50s or 2 TB51s. You'll also be able to fit like 2 micro 98 watt hours in here, either gold or V mount, or you can fit 1 large V or gold, a full size one in there as well, like 150, 160 watt hours. So put those back in. I tried to make it easy to access, but they do stick out a little bit out top so that the lid will hold them nice and steady for travel. In the complete kit, you'll get a spare short cable, and then you also get a long cable for different setups. So if you want to give the first AC the DJI High Bright, so they have the focus overlays and everything, then you can still power it and give control signals to that monitor from the control deck. Then we've got the AC adapter here, so the 90 watt hour AC adapter that has its little pocket and the cable lives down there. Then we've also got room for the high gain antennas. So obviously I've got there the extension leads for the high gain antenna. I've got room there for those. Up the front here, we've got the DJI hood. So that serves as a nice spot for that, but it also protects the antennas from the case. We've got clearance at the back here so that you can keep this short right angle to right angle cable installed. So again, saves time when you're putting it away, pulling it back out every day. Got the T6 Torx PB Swiss, obviously in orange. That's to access the firmware port at the front. Got a spot for the flashlight. This is a spot for the brass spigot or the spigot foot. Got a spot for 4 of the standard antennas, obviously with a nice snug fit. Next, we've got a pocket for the standalone video transmitter. So this is what you'd be using with the Ronin 2, the RS3 and the RS4. We also include space for the RS mounting bracket that DJI include. So drop it in there. Next, we have the super clamp or the Mayfa clamp, depending on where you're from. There's probably another name for it as well. Tried to make that drop in and drop in open so that it's ready to go on a stand again. Next, we've got the right angle spigot. So obviously that in use with the super clamp is a nice way to mount it to a C-stand. And then hiding under here, we've got the straight spigot with the hex end. So you can drop that hex end into your super clamp and then clamp it to a desk or, you know, all the different ways. So that is nice and snug. And without the batteries, this whole setup is just over 11 kilos or 24 pounds. Thanks for checking out Control Deck. For more information and for ordering, head to our website, ignitedigi.com. These will also be available through our reseller network, and we can't wait to see them out and about on set around the world.